That's great.
So the Hindi College of Engineering will make.
Yeah, huge for you. I know that this is a site tool like to the IIT. He has a
Finally,
you give him the name of the book and also the next day 24 hours he can get the book. He bound it and keep it like ready.
Okay, we'll get started. Yes. Yeah, 270.
It's open.
Yeah. Okay, so we covered at least the verses of chapter 1. Underline, I covered. We taught, but at least we went through all the 47 verses of chapter 1. So today we'll take a small pause and try to see what are the take-home messages from the chapter 1. Otherwise, we'll just study Gita. We'll be able to repeat all the verses without connecting with the real life. So there are around 12 practices come under the scope of chapter 1. And we will cover at least 3, 4. And I'm going to enumerate, but it is your responsibility or your takeaway to go and do. At least practice one of them, 1 or 2 of them. Because a small practices will make a huge difference. So if you really look at chapter 1 of the Gita, the theme was problem statement. What exactly is the problem that is addressed by the Gita was the theme of chapter 1. So for illustrating that point, you took Arjuna, Krishna, Kauravas, armies, and all the scenes. But what exactly is the problem we were covering? If you remember the introduction to chapter 1, we talked about that extensively, right? The ability of a human being to face a situation, the ability of a human being to keep a balanced mind when you face a situation. Because if you don't have the ability to face that situation, and if you don't have the ability to apply your knowledge and skills in front of that problem, you may have all the skills in the world. But if you cannot use that skill at the time of crisis, that's a problem. So Vivekananda said, right, once in his famous lecture in US, he said, like, any fool can perform exceptionally well when the situations are under his control. Correct? But I would call somebody as a skillful and an effective person only when he can apply his skills and his ability to execute things at the time of crisis. So 3 things. One is you need to have skills and tools and every ability means every bit of knowledge to face a problem. Interviewing, you need to have this. You need to know the subject. You need to answer the. You should have ability to answer the problem. That is one skill. Second skill is what? When somebody interviews you, whatever you have should come out. We always pay a lot of attention to the first part, but we pay little attention to the second part. And that is why in the modern world, just like IQ, EI is considered as one of the core competencies. In almost all the corporates, they train you in emotional intelligence. So that's very important. So with that in mind, we saw what was the first key message. The first verse was an instruction by Dhritarashtra to Sanjaya. What was the question? Oh Sanjaya, who is Sanjaya? A faithful, honest reporter who can see the truth. Remember the skill of Sanjaya? Sanjaya had the ability to see what is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And he is honest. And he is faithful. So to that Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra, what is the problem of Dhritarashtra? He don't have the ability to see things. He asked, "Oh Sanjaya, who is my faithful reporter, tell me what is happening in the battlefield." So we saw symbolically what it represents. Dhritarashtra represents our mind. Mind is typically blind to my own attachment, my own emotions. So the blind mind is asking the honest introspection. Look deeply within myself and tell me what is happening, right? What exactly is the emotions that are controlling me? What exactly is the thoughts that are making my mental makeup? What is my likes? What is my dislikes? How am I relating with myself? See, you know, right, how you are relating with yourself. Because sometimes you don't feel comfortable sitting at home. But why? Because you're waiting for the result of a blood work. Sometimes I am afraid of a potential layoff. Sometimes I'm worried about what? The admission of my children. Or sometimes, or most of the times, I'm worried about the behavior of my kids. So there are so many things that are influencing me. So what exactly is my pain points? How am I responding to my pain points? And how am I keeping my mind? Is that mind stable, calm, quiet? Or is that mind is extremely under stress? And mind you, if that mind is overstressed, the decisions you make, the solutions you come up for your problem, right? You are extremely worried about the admission of your child. What would be your reaction to your child? You might get frustrated with the child. Yeah. So one research, especially with the Indian parents, showed one very interesting result. What is that? Typically, tomorrow morning your daughter has an assignment. He came at today at 9 o'clock in the night and tell you that I didn't write the assignment. What would be a typical Indian parent's response?
Start yelling at the kid.
Yeah, start yelling at the kids. What would be the next time the child will do?
You'll not tell you.
Exactly. So, what should have been the reaction? You help the child to cross the problem, and next day have a conversation. What was the problem? My emotions, my stress forced me to react like that. So, how do I balance myself? So, how am I behaving? What exactly is the things happening in my mind? What is my pain points? Because some people, anything happen home, they are completely resilient. But small issues with the work, they are extremely agitated. So, which role of myself is creating more stress and pressure in you? And do we know that? Not at all. We never pay attention to ourselves. We pay attention to our dashboard in the car, right? If the car had an air problem, we'll go and fix the air. If there is a check engine, we'll go and fix the engine. But where is the dashboard? Do we have a dashboard inside where I can look and see, am I agitated? In that case, if somebody tells me something, I would be a little bit cautious. So sometimes we are reacting instead of acting. So the first skill is that what are the type of thoughts that governs me? What are the emotions that are controlling me? What are the events that are triggering my emotional response? And what is that? What feeling we experience? Am I feeling always stressed? Some people are in status stress. Such people will have to take blood pressure medication always. Mind you, like sometimes you get blood pressure hereditary also. That you cannot avoid. What I'm talking is 80% of the time, these lifestyle diseases comes because of stress also. Stress plays an important role in all lifestyle diseases. And that's why we say when you meditate, the blood pressure will come down. The meditation will take care of the stress part, and hence the blood pressure is under control. There is no mysticism here. Let's demystify all these things. The sugar, you know that, right? If the blood pressure means if the stress is high, naturally what is going to happen? What is the body's thinking? What is the brain's thinking? You are in an extreme dangerous situation. When you are in that extreme dangerous situation, what needs to happen? You need more energy. When you need more energy, what is brain's mechanism?
Sugar.
It will put a lot of sugar, because sugar plus carbon dioxide, what do you get? Energy plus ATPs plus carbon dioxide. That's what happens. So more sugar. This is the problem. So how do you control that? So that's the first practice we need to do. So let's see. So know our own mind is the first skill we want to do. So first life skill we wanted to do is emotional self-awareness. Emotional self-awareness means recognize the emotions that are impacting our life. And we have to do an accurate self-assessment. We have to do an accurate self-assessment. Mind you, this self-awareness, what is self-awareness? Simple terms. Don't complicate it with the Atmajnana and all. We are not in there. We'll come there later. Before knowing the Atma and the super consciousness, all those things, these are completely outside of our vicinity right now. Krishna didn't teach Arjuna those things immediately, right? He wanted him to understand what is going in and around him first. Then only you can understand later point of time. And that is why when you go to a spiritual talk, most of the time they talk about moksha and all those higher stuff without realizing that you are not able to even grasp that. So that's why Gita starts from the beginning. So first thing you need to understand is what is the state of your body. Is there any muscle tension in the body? Most of the people don't even recognize the muscle tension. Muscle tension is the first sign of what? Stress. So that you need to understand. And then you need to understand your breathing pattern. If there is stress, shallow breathing is the first sign of the stress. Why? You know that? So when you have stress, first thing what is happening is what? Your diaphragm, this diaphragm of the lungs, that muscles become stiff. When the diaphragm is stiff, what is going to happen? The ability of the lung to expand reduces. So one pull will not capture that much air. So how to compensate that?
Keep breathing.
That's what it is. So you need to understand. You need to understand your body. You need to understand your breathing pattern. And you need to understand what? The emotions that are pushing and pulling me from left and right. So how do we develop that? And mind you, it's not like you can eat a pill and get this skill. It is by birth. A Swamiji will come and put his hand on your head. You will not get it. This is no miracles here. How do you learn bicycling? By practicing. So how can you gain this mental skills? In yoga, they say, right? How do you develop strength for your physical muscles? How do you do that? By doing exercise, right? By practice and by doing exercise, you make the mental muscles strong so that you can lift weight. So how do you practice in such a way that my mental muscles are strong? It can hold, it can withstand the pressure and stress coming and hitting me. Please don't try to practice when you have a trouble, right? You have to, the day of weightlifting, if you try to practice, the guy cannot do anything. And we always tell our child to practice on that day. So we cannot do that. Avoid that. We have to do that here. So this is a learned skill. Anybody can, means some people are gifted with like some skills by birth. Yes, I agree with that. Some people are resilient, but everybody can improve from where they are to a good level by practice. If you miss this point in Gita, you miss the Gita. Okay, so let's start some of the skills. So the first skill we are going to develop is self-awareness. So how do you develop self-awareness? The best and time-tested method is journaling. Keep a journal. But mind you, this journal is purely subjective. This is not to show somebody, and this is not to criticize somebody. We are very good in looking at the journal of our kids and criticizing. This is not that. This is for ourselves. So in that journal, you have to ask a few questions. When exactly am I getting out of control? So we'll use the 80-20 rule here. What is the 80-20 rule? Pareto law. 80% of the problem can be attributed to 20% problem. 80% of the tax money is coming from 20%. Top 20%. That's how the Pareto law came in, right? In Italy, that is how he came in. And this is the popular 80-20 rule or the Pareto law. So this apply, let us apply that. Tomorrow we are not going to try and solve all the problems in life. No, we are trying to address the top 20%. And the reward is going to be 80%. Getting that first 80% is very easy, not very difficult. But fine tuning, that is going to be difficult. And then what is the secondary level Pareto law?
Take 80% of
Yeah, you take the 20% of the top 20%. That is where we are going to focus first. So just every day, spend 5 minutes. Honestly, spend 5 minutes and try to look yourself and see what means, have I impacted with high emotions? Have I means what exactly is the challenges I faced on that particular day? How did I react? How did I react? If there is a mischievous boy or a girl, right? If the parent is there in the room, naturally you will see that it will be a little bit less. When nobody is monitoring,
Right.
he will execute full-fledged. Like that, the mind has to have a feeling that somebody is monitoring it. So every day we will monitor our mind. Yesterday I had a fight with my spouse. That's okay. I'm not saying that it is bad. It happens. In our Purana, they say, right? Even if you go to Kailash, if you stay there for 4 days, you will see a fight between Shiva and Parvati. Wherever a husband and wife is there, there will be fight. It's guaranteed. So it's okay. I'm not saying that tomorrow onwards don't try to judge yourself. So if let's say that there was a fight, there was a real bad argument between you and your spouse, and what happens after that argument? You can go and check. What would be my first tendency? She was wrong. She treated me unfairly. She should have been slightly different. And that's not what we are trying to do here. Why I get such feeling typically? My mind is blind to myself. So we will see in the second chapter how the misrepresentation comes. That is going to come in the second chapter. Right now, I know that I had a bad argument, and as a result of that argument, I reacted. I said something I should not have been saying. And after that, it took 2 hours for me to come back to normal state. And even now, I feel terribly bad. Now, when I look back, I think I should not have said that, or I should not have done that. So, in such every day, think through your life. Some days there may not be anything, but you can always think what pains I experienced, what type of emotions I experienced, what was the trigger. First thing, what was happening? Okay, I lost my control when she said about my family, or I lost my control when he said X, or I lost my control. Meaning, it may not be anger alone, right? So I went to a blood work. The doctor said, yeah, it looked a little bit dangerous. So that, what I want to understand is where exactly is my vulnerability? Is that my children, or is that my job, or is that my health, or is that my financial situation? I need to know. I'm not trying to say that whether it is wrong or not. I need to understand where exactly is my vulnerability. So second thing is, what was my feeling when she said this, or when I heard the news of a potential layoff, or when I heard that the child's grade is D? What was my feeling? What is the one thing about the feeling is you experience it. You experienced it. You may not be able to verbalize it properly, but you know what happened at that time. Was it conducive, or what it means? If that was not conducive, if you felt terrible at that point of time, what was my feeling? And then the next question is, where the feeling led us to a destructive or a dull or a depressive mental state. Destructive means what? I broke some glasses, or I said something for which I regret later. I reacted. Did I react? Means 3 things. The 3 basic response for a high stress is, what is it? Anybody know? Either fight or flight. What is the third thing? A freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. And what did we see Arjuna in the last chapter? Complete freeze. That is the most pathetic stage. So emotional breakdown. So any one of these things happen. Sometimes we may aggressively react. Sometimes we may feel extremely depressed. What is the sign of depression?
Seclusion.
Yeah, seclusion. I feel that everything is lost. That dull feeling will come. I don't have to explain. Don't tell me that you never had depression. Everybody has depression. So everybody might have gone through depression some point or the other. Even people like Arjuna went through that, who is a master. So everybody had some amount of depression in some point of life. So then how did we react? So we need to see. And was there any impact on the body? It's like some people sore neck, sometimes racing heart. You just wanted to identify what were the triggers. And then have you experienced any pressure? How long this will last? So we just need to monitor that. This is a good old technique, and you may see this in a lot of modern training management. Means if you go to emotional intelligence workshop, this is the first thing they teach you. So you wanted to just not every day. So don't expect that every day you will get these type of experience. Remember, we are talking about 20% of the 20%. This situation we want to avoid. So this is we are going to monitor.
So what's like? So yeah, we monitor, right? But then
Yeah.
what? Like, what is the just being aware of it?
First thing is, see, there are 4 steps. First thing is self-awareness. Second thing is what? Self-control. So the control always preceded with what?
Awareness.
Monitoring. Without monitoring, you cannot control. Without looking at the speedometer, you cannot control your speed. Of course, over a period of time, you get that judgment. So first thing is monitoring. So in the chapter 1, did Krishna give any solution? He was just listening. So what exactly he was listening? That's what we are trying to practice. So all the practices we are developing is only self-awareness. Mind you, that is the most difficult. If you are aware of these are my problems, I can easily solve. But 80% of the problem, I'm not even aware of that. Yes.
Because this is subjective. Essentially, what happens is most of the times you are biased in your judgment.
Correct. That's what I'm coming to. So how this awareness needs to be developed? 3 sources. One is your own assessment. Second one is a good friend or spouse or person, somebody else. I told you, a lot of people don't even realize that they are angry. And the third assessment is, I'll send you the link. There is a self-test. For emotional intelligence, there is an online test. So the best option is a collection of these 3. So this is how people calibrate. So then self-awareness. Some people are so resilient as a professional. Even if the whole world comes to an end, they don't care about work. They leave work at work and come back home and work perfectly. But they're extremely vulnerable to the children. A slight fever, it can kill them. And some people, extremely opposite. Anything related to children or family, they're okay. But they cannot withstand even a slight problem at work. So we need to identify, I might be extremely emotionally intelligent as a son or a daughter, or as a father or a mother, but I might be extremely vulnerable as a professional. And some people are extremely bad in their social relationship. They might be extremely perfect husband, but his world is we two and our two. That's it. Nothing happens. And they start become fight with the neighbors and other people, etc. So you need to identify in your capacity, in your current world as Arnabji or as Mahesh or anybody, what exactly is the major role I play in life? This is very important. Krishna talks about this later, because in one role you might be perfectly well, perfectly strong, but the other role you might be weak. So you need to identify, how am I doing as a dad? How am I doing? If you're a successful person, right? Look at the life history of all the big CEOs or Hollywood stars. A lot of CEOs has health issues. You know that, right? You hear that at the age of 42 or 40s or 30s, they pass away. Why? In one role, with respect to their profession, exceptionally good. But how many marriages they had and what is their. So when you say successful, right, you cannot say it with respect to one role. This is again one Gita teaches you later point of time. He tells, right, holistic. Your health should be good, your mental state should be good, your efficiency should be good, how do you relate with people should be good. Then only you can see yourself as a successful person. Otherwise, no. So typically I feel that, okay, this guy is a multi-billionaire, so he might be very successful. Or he has 5 branded cars, he would be successful. And some people uses that, right? So some people uses the home and the car for, they feel that if I have this particular car or this particular house or this particular branded shirt, it will add my value. I'm not saying that it should not be used, but that is why it's called make-ups. It makes it up, right? That's why there is nothing wrong in that, but don't think that your value is that. Your value is different. So what I was trying to say here is an important lesson that in life, it is not just one vertical slice. It's not your professional life. It is not your personal life. You have multiple roles to play. And you need to look each role separately. And the multiple minds, one of the book I talked earlier, right? It said like somewhere you might, everybody would be successful, but there are points of failure at the other places. So you need to look at each of these roles and do regular self-analysis. In our meditation class from January, this is what I'm going to pick it up. We are going to, with a guided meditation, we are going to see what is happening there. We will see that little bit. We started doing that little bit, especially with the Yoga Nidra when you are lying down, once it is relaxed, we started understanding a little bit, but we are going to these specific things. But this is the goal. So the next one is, how do you measure that? Use what you asked for. Because typically my mind is what? Through the Rashtra. I don't even see what is happening there. So I need to understand my own assessment. Second one is ask others for feedback. So not to anybody, right? Somebody who trusts you, somebody who gives you, identify as Sachin. Like it could be your spouse or it could be your friend. Mind you, their opinion may not be correct. It is just an input. Don't give more than that because they are also biased. Even if it is your spouse, she or he might be biased a little bit. But we need to understand. We need to see. There are, later in Gita, we will see, Krishna tells, right, there is something only known to you. You only know about yourself. I know that I have this jealousy, but nobody else knows that. There are certain things in me which are known to me and which are known to others. Everybody knows that I like to play cricket or I like to eat this food. So there are certain things in me which are known to me and known to others. There are certain things which is only known to me, not to others. There are certain things which is only known to others. This guy is an irritating person. Other people know, but I have no idea. And what is the last part? There are certain things which is neither you knows nor others knows. And later point of time, Krishna will give you some tips to bring this out. So if you know these 4 quadrants, you can get a relatively okay perspective of yourself. Even then, that is not complete. But that's the best we can do. So self, known to me and others, that is point number 1. It's easy to get that. This guy is a short-tempered guy. Sometimes I know that, others know that. Sometimes there are certain things, I know that I have this passion or this feeling, but I cover it up and I act as a good person in front of others. That is second thing. The third thing is, I don't even realize that I have these bad habits, but others know that. It starts with nail biting and it can go to the very, very, very bad things. And finally, there are certain things which is completely hidden in myself and Others don't know, myself don't know. These are the three methods. And don't think that it's a static baseline version. I did baseline myself 15 years back. 15 years back, my biggest wish was get a job. We talked about this in the Vedanta class, right? If you had baseline yourself when you were a college child, I remember your example. Your dream was a moped, right? At that time. If you had a moped, you would have been happy. And if you had 1,000 rupees salary, you were happy. A job at Wipro. Yes. Good memory.
Yes. Great memory.
So a
I will
job.
come to you for feedback.
No, I remember that point. Right? A job in Wipro, a moped, and a 3-digit figure salaries. These were the three things you know.
4 figures.
Four figures. Yeah, 3 digits is nothing. 4 figures, 1,000 rupees, thousands.
Yes.
999. Nice. You would have been happy if you. But you
At
had.
that time, Wipro was paying something like 3,000 rupees or something. So that was considered to be the benchmark.
Correct. But so baseline, you have to re-baseline yourself every year. If possible, this is a good practice to start with New Year. Baseline yourself, understand yourself. Why? How am I? What exactly is driving me crazy? At least I'm sure there would be something that creates disturbance in each one of you. It could be your child's education, it could be your own health, or it could be your parents' state in India, or it could be your job, or it could be a nagging boss. Mind you, if the boss is not good, like it's a terrible life. So every one of you can find one or two things. Identify what exactly is the top 3 things that is bothering me and how it is impacting me. All the points. How much time is that going to take away my sleep? Mind you, your sleep is so important. If you don't have proper sleep, you have sleep, how it is physically manifesting is that I'm getting irritated to my children. My boss is so irritating me from morning till evening. Like when I come back home, how am I taking it? How am I coping with all these pressures? Tomorrow you cannot go and avoid all the pressures, but I can retune myself. How am I responding to that? I can make my mental muscle strong, but so that I can react to that properly. Not react, act properly. Now I'm reacting. If he say A, I will say X. And if I will, this is what is happening in the life. So that's why Krishna advised Arjuna, right? Before you go and conquer the world, you have to conquer yourself. You have, thank God, Gandhiji and all the world has developed so much. You have so much of freedom. UN is enforcing that. But am I free? I'm not free. I don't have freedom within myself. And that's what this teaching is going to give me. So coming back to the practice, we want to develop self-awareness. So every day means in the next 1 month of time, you can sit and understand what exactly is the key things that are bothering me. How am I responding to that? What is the triggers and how it is impacting me physically? How it is impacting me emotionally? How it is impacting me socially? And what is the net result of that? Is my blood pressure is high? What is the symptoms? And also, I'll give you a few practices, the exact guided practices, but this is the thing. And yeah,
Sometimes if there's a conflict between your self-assessment and someone else's feedback, which one should you favor?
your assessment, but you have to look at the other feedback honestly. Because the other feedback is to make me aware that there is a phase like that to me. So that's why I always feel that everybody should have a good friend. That the value of that is going to be very, very, very high. A friend you can talk anything. Means don't start making somebody as your friend. The friend should come to you because a friend who is not judging you. So I was talking to at least 6 or 7 people in the last 1 year. I can guarantee you that, especially a lot of ladies, housewives who are talking to me. And most of the times what they say is that they cannot open and talk what is in their mind. And that is the root cause of their stress. if I can boil that and tell you the bottom line. Anything they say, it is being judged. So who am I to judge other person, right? So just give somebody who can listen impartially and give.
So that's a lesson for ourselves also.
Yeah.
To,
How to respond to other
be
people.
open to
Yeah.
listen to others.
Exactly. And also see without judging other people, right? So the brain games in Netflix, watch a couple of episodes. So in one episode, they will show like how a customer support agent responded to a person. Everybody said this agent should be fired immediately. And the next scene is what? They showed what exactly happened to this lady yesterday. And once you see that, everybody said, no, this lady should be supported. So before judging the person, I don't know, right? So in Rama tells in Ramayana one famous sentence. When Lakshmana started judging Bharata was coming to pick up Rama, right? So Lakshmana's response was initially what? We should fight, we should block the place, and we should start fighting. Rama said, like, don't judge anybody. You have no right to judge anybody, right? So what I am seeing, you are not seeing. Without me seeing, without seeing that, how can you say that what I'm saying is wrong? Remember in the Vedanta class, we took the example. We said like three people are going out. One person saw a snake, another person saw a rope, and the third person didn't see anything. So now the person who didn't see anything make fun of that person who saw the snake. You're an idiot. You don't see anything. What is there to fear here? He saw a snake. That is why he is fearing. He is shivering. And when you see a snake, it is natural you will shiver. So when your child cries, complaining that he was removed from a chat group, or somebody unfriended from the social media group, you may laugh. What is that? But for that child, it's a huge problem. So don't judge. So this is very important, whatever we are learning here.
And the integrity of holding that information within you also without discussing it with anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are two very important.
Very important. And make the friends wisely. And when you have, believe me, when you have that intent, that friend or that guide will come to you. We'll see that in the 4th chapter of the Gita.
You need to learn to be a good friend also, right?
Exactly. You need to be, means that is the dharma, right? What is dharma? The basic rule of dharma is what? Don't do anything which you don't want from others. We saw that definition of dharma. So I always want good friends. I always want others to be completely integrity. But if somebody tells me something, it will, in no time, it will be a talk of the town. So you cannot do that. And when you do that, understand that dharma, reciprocals will be there. Nobody can escape from the rule of karma. Karma is so complicated. If you cheat somebody, you will get cheated. No doubt about it. You can get away from the rule of the land, but not from the law of karma. Believe me, it is 100% correct. So now, once you do that, right, this is a very powerful practice. This is there in the emotional intelligence workshops. We'll talk about this. Imagine, right? So one thing is what? And Krishna also said, you cannot run away from the fear. You have to go and face it. Remember the example of the deers and the lion I told you?
Yeah.
The deer who run away from the lion will get caught. The Karna-Krishna battle, Arjuna battle, the story of what Krishna is talking to Shalya and what Krishna is talking to Arjuna and what Shalya is talking to Karna. This is a big management lesson, lot of things. Shalya will pull Karna down, whereas Krishna elevates Arjuna. That is the difference between the fronts. When you have to choose fronts wisely, he can pull you down also. So one powerful practice, which will come later part of the Gita also, is that suppose you are worried about layoff a lot. Some people don't even think about layoff. Now, what you should do? Think about layoff. Sit, there's some meditation, right? What exactly I'm afraid of? Think about that and see how am I going to respond. It's a very powerful practice. Don't do this with like loud words passing away, etc. No, that's not what we want to do. Like, especially the other things like child submission. Some people don't even sleep, thinking that their child is not going to an Ivy League potentially. So one person was telling me this story, and I was asking him, "How are you performing in your organization?" He said, "I got excellent, outstanding performance results, exceeding expectation. I got 3 years continuously." So I asked him, "Which college you studied?" He said, "Some Janaki Ammal college in Tamil Nadu." I said, "That Janaki Ammal college, map that to a standard here. Is that good Middlesex Community College rating? It's far below that. Then how much you are performing?" I said, "I'm performing much better than a lot of other people in my department." So yeah, you have to put every effort for your son to go to the Ivy League. But if that is not happening, that's not the end of the world. Performing in this third-rate college where they didn't have even a computer, you're performing much better than the people here, a lot of people here. So it's not the end of the world. Why are you losing your sleep because of that? And even in last year, it was last year, and after that he called me up and said like, "Yeah, that pep talk, this is not the solution, this is our pep talks. It helped him a lot." But it's very important, right? Means if there is a layoff, it will help you to prepare for that well. Later point of time, Krishna tells, when a change comes, before the change is imposed on you, be ready for the change. And he extends that to the end of the life also, right? Before the death comes to you, be ready for it. You can do that. Don't think about that right now. We are not in that level, but at least you can prepare yourself for a job change. You can prepare for your child's admission. You can prepare for local such things.
But sometimes isn't it? Yeah, they say like whatever you think, you are manifesting it. So why would you?
No, you are going to not saying that you are surrendering to the situation, right? If a layoff happens, you are ready for it. That's what it is. So
Mentally ready.
no, and no. See this. We will see that the next practice, right? When you say that a layoff happens, what should I do? Like, I need to find a job. That is a solution, right? So how can I find a job? What shall I do to prepare for that? It will tell that, okay, my skills are Visual Basic 5 in 1990. After that, I didn't judge. My company never upgraded myself. So I need to learn some certifications. I need to learn something. That's all. So this is something.
To answer your question, the thinking part of it is worrying.
Worry. Yeah.
If you worry,
Yeah.
what happens is you are brooding over the same thing over and over again. But if you're thinking and planning ahead,
Yeah.
you are actually finding a solution.
Solution.
To your problem. So then you're
That's
ready.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you're getting ready to face it, not trying to make it manifest.
Right.
Okay. And mind you, once it is done, it will not happen.
Right. But Rajesh, in order to be ready for the situation, is it necessary to meditate on it?
Yeah.
Because
No, not to meditate on the problem, right? So let me tell you, if that happens, what are all the precautions I have to do? That's all I'm meditating. So let's be very clear. It is not that somebody passed away or I'm losing my job. That is not your meditating. You are meditating. What are all the major vulnerability I have, right? It's called risk management.
It's a contemplative meditation where you just contemplate on what are the likely scenarios, and what would you do?
Why am I worried, right? Why means, see, the first it started with I'm contemplating on the fact that what exactly is my top 3 worries. One is layoff. Second one is what? My health. Third one is my child's admission. There are other things. So layoff is the first thing. Then what I'm doing? Why am I worried about layoff? I won't have the income, right? So then what I'm doing? So what is the mitigation of that? Mitigation means I need to find a job quickly. How can I make myself ready for a job? Right now, then only I look at I'm not joking. There is one person attending in our class here. He just lost his job 3 months back. His PMP certification was expired. That's the most painful thing can happen. Why? He thought that this state is continuous. So this is something very simple as the classic risk management. Remember, we talked about three things. One is certainty, second one is uncertainty, and the third one is risk. We can explain this through two words, known and unknown. If something is not known, it is certainty. You need to get ready for that. So a layoff announced, right? A merger, acquisition, divestiture happened, and they said, okay, your last day is after 3 months. It's certain. Second thing is what? Unknown, unknown. Known, known, unknown, unknown. Unknown, unknown is what? Tomorrow a bus can come and hit me. Or World Trade Center happened. Nobody could imagine at that time. Unknown, unknown, only thing I can do is some contingency. Right? If something happens to me, like I should have enough savings for my children, or I should have some insurance. That's all. And third thing is what? That is where you have some control. Known, unknown. Your health can go down. Your job can, something happens to your job, right? Your skills, everything. So how to prepare? And that is where, that is the exact definition of risk. The first category is known as certainty, and the second category is known as uncertainty, and the third category is known as risk. What is the definition of risk? There's a probability. It is not yet happened, but there is a probability that it can happen. And what is the response to the risk in the management domain?
Mitigation.
Three things. One is avoid. Second one is mitigate. And the third one is accept it. These are the three things. The response strategy for any risk is three. One is avoid. Second one is mitigate. Third one is accept it. Because sometimes you may not have even a response. So at that point of time, you accept it and you do something. Mitigate means what? You're reducing the effect. So car, when you buy a car, definitely the probability is there for an accident. How do you mitigate it? Insurance. Healthcare. Something can happen to me tomorrow, and one day hospital is $8,000. So how do you mitigate it?
Exercise.
Insurance. Insurance is there. The very definition of the insurance industry is risk mitigation. In China, right? This is how the insurance industry started. China, people used to take goods from these mountains to valleys. Means they used to own boats and they used to carry goods. But what happens? Sometimes what happens? The boat will sink completely. So what happens to that guy? Complete loss. So they found a strategy. They said, like, we will divide this into 10 and we will keep one portion in each of the boats. So even if there is a boat sink, how much loss they have?
110.
110. And that is how the whole insurance industry emerged. So that's the same thing we are doing here. These are all very much scientific things. Okay, so self-awareness. So this, another thing is, some of the challenging tasks in your life. How did you manage? How much you were disturbed, or how well you managed at that point of time? Contemplate on that. So I told you my example. I was supposed to go to a big conference and talk in 2001. I prepared myself. I did the presentation 15 times, but I went to the stage, I could not speak anything. So that's a problem. What was the problem? It was not the knowledge, it was not the skill, but public speaking, fear of speaking. So I need to understand what exactly is my weak points. That's another skill. Okay, so these are the takeaways. One is plan and put some time to build self-awareness. Regular self-analysis. Regular self-analysis. This is very important because today's challenge may not be the challenge tomorrow. Then get regular feedback from others, because sometimes you get somebody gives you feedback, typically I don't like it. So try to get maximum feedback. And self-awareness. Even if the feedback is wrong, you need to understand that this is how they perceive me. This is not my intention, but Perception is always a reality. So take that. Every feedback is valuable. And finally, try to develop positive behavior in ourselves. So we will practice this more on in our meditation. But second one I wanted to quickly cover. This is habit. Remember, we saw the second verse, habit, power of habit. This is very important. This is a popular management theory by James Clear. It is very important that we understand these things. Habits, what is the definition of habit?
Something that is just done unconsciously.
Yeah,
Again
it's
and again.
programmed, right? Repetitive action over a period of time, what happens? You're
Reflex
automatic. So one is time. Certain habits are time dependent. Classic example is when you get up in the morning, immediately a series of routines will happen, right? You go and take brush if you do it, but that is the natural thing. And certain time, right? Because some people I see like at 6 o'clock they're extremely meditative, but 7 o'clock they need alcohol. So that time demands certain. So look at if you have a bad behavior or if you have a bad habit, sometimes look at the time. By looking at the time, you will be able to control it. So, second thing is the location. Classic example: popcorn in a movie theater. I myself doesn't like popcorn, but without thinking much, you buy popcorn when you go to a movie theater. So certain habits will trigger location-wise. The slides are there. You can always download it, right? So the third thing is what? Preceding event. So I'm at work, I'm doing a serious presentation. Suddenly I got a ting message, a text. I took the phone, then I went to Facebook, then I went to that. So a preceding event, triggering the phone. That is another place the habits will trigger. This is a very scientific study. Fourth point, other people. So the presence of certain people, a drunken friend. I typically don't drink, right? But when I see this guy, I feel like drinking. And these drunkards has a wonderful skills, counseling skills. I know one of my friend. He was part of this anti-liquor movement. So one day he went ahead and started counseling a friend. What happened is the other guy counseled him in such a way that this guy started drinking.
Oh God.
So that happens. Certain people. So this is very important, and that is why surround yourself with. This is extremely important for kids. The company they have, it plays a huge role. Forget about kids. For us also.
But this could be vice versa also, right? I mean, like, you want to stop drinking, so you hang out with the guy who doesn't drink.
Yeah.
But then, you never know, that guy will start drinking with you. Then.
Yeah, but
That's exactly what happened.
yeah, that example, as I said, like, what I'm saying is, I can also see here. I am the seeker, right? I am going and say
Choosing.
sitting with Mahesh, who is a good, means at least a certain qualities I want to emulate from him. See, that's what it is. They say, right, when Rama came in, even Rakshasas turned as good in certain areas. Don't think it as a story, because when you see Rama, what is emulating from him, other people also will change. A good person can change. That's why these masters, when they come, they won't go and do a huge noise and all, nothing. But like a Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, a Ramana Maharshi, they may not, hardly they talk, but their presence will change people. Positive influence. And this is very true. And the last category is what? Emotional state. Classic example. You can Google this. A lot of people do online shopping when they are bored. So identify where exactly is your weak points. This is a good analysis on habit. Okay, so let's go to the next skill. The next skill is value meditation. This I'm going to do. Don't worry about this. Value meditation is, there are In the 13th chapter of the Gita, Krishna is going to enumerate a certain values we need to possess as a human being, and certain values you need to avoid. 16th chapter is also there. It's called Deva Asurika Sambandhi. Who is it God?
Cross connection.
Cross connection. Exactly like 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said about finding that one friend. What if you have a body of friends?
That's fine.
Is this
At least one.
Isn't that better?
It's better.
I don't know if that's
It's
better or
It is
not.
definitely better.
Because each one may give you different views and
Yeah.
leave you more confused.
Yeah. No, as I said, like these are all inputs, right? You cannot.
You have more data to process. now.
It's all you have to use your intellect. Okay.
That's the most
At the end, it
challenging
all-
part.
But at least you can start the self-awareness. You can identify a certain things, 80-20 rule and 80-20 of the 80-20. At least the major problems you can avoid. That's easy. I found that myself. A lot of things I could avoid because it doesn't require a lot of skills. Easily you can take care of a lot of things that is happening in our life. But to become a Krishna or to become a Buddha, it is difficult. That part is okay, understand. Value meditation. Value meditation is what? Think that you have this value is already, you have honesty or you have the mental stability. You are visualizing yourself as one with this quality. And you're taking a series of situations and you're making sure that public speaking. This is in modern days, it is known as NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. You're programming your brain in such a way that you have these skills. And over a period of time, when you face that, what is going to happen? That skill will manifest. This is called anchoring and programming. So this is what is called as, if you really look at our meditation techniques that is highlighted in Gita and our Vedic system, it falls under the 5 categories. One is awareness meditation, which we are talking about right now. Then what? Relaxation meditation, which a technique by which you can relax quickly. Then the third category is known as value meditation. Value meditation is you're programming yourself as somebody with that value. And when you do that with a yoga nidra type of practice, it will automatically, you will not know, like fearlessness. You see that fearlessness manifests in you. Yoga nidra means you are in a state of semi-sleep and awakening. At that point of time, it goes to your unconscious, and it's just like a computer is programmed. We are programming our brain. So this is what is value meditation. And then this automatic thought patterns. This is very important. Automatic thoughts is the biggest culprit. Remember, we saw about the conches in the first chapter, right? When all these Kauravas started brewing conches, Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and what was the scene? The whole battlefield was reverberating with this noise, and it could frighten anybody. So when we face a situation, what exactly is the thought that comes to us? So go back. Okay. So typically this identifies the danger of this automatic thoughts. First one is filtering. What happens is typically you hear a news, you have a headache. Immediately what is happening? Brain tumor. Headache can happen with 1500 other reasons, and the possibility of that brain tumor is 0.001. So filtered vision is what? You just filter out everything. My child is a little bit delayed. My God, some ladies, how much they creatively project, it's unbelievable, and then live in that hellish state. So we need to be extremely careful about filtering. So look at that. A single detail becomes the focus, and the whole thinking is based on that. True, right? This is very important. And then we'll quickly scan through that. Polarized thinking. Black and white thinking, either or. This is what happens, right? There is no, but in the world, most of things are not black and white. There is an in-between state. You always consider something and frustrates, desperation, everything will come. These are all Kauravas influencing. Next is what? Overgeneralizing. Generalization trap, they call. It's what happens. Broad conclusion based upon limited evidence.
Painting with the brush.
Yeah, it's very common. And then the next one is what? Mind reading. I assume what he is thinking and then react.
Yes.
Parents and children, especially the problem is with the parents. Then what? Creating catastrophes. Anything happen, he only thinks about disasters. 16th chapter, Krishna criticized this a lot and help us to plan that positivity. And I told you about a book, Power of Positivity. That book talks extremely about that. Magnifying, exaggerating the level of intensity. Think about the 15 problem you were worried in the past. How many of them have manifested in the same gravity as you go? I thought end of the world. There are certain things it will happen, but 90% of the times, and the amount of stress I had, and if you put some calculation in your life, all these things have taken out almost 10 years of your life. Then personalizing. I think that the whole world is thinking about me. In fact, nobody is thinking about me. How much attention you pay about a stranger walking in the road, right? The importance of for me is so high that I believe that anybody smiling or making a fun, it is about me. This is very common. Last is shoulds. You create some rules saying that if it is a student, he should not should do certain things, should not do certain things. India, so in at least in our generation, we used to see, right? If you go and listen to a music, the parents would think that okay, he is not studying. How can they judge? We are not good either, right? See, one of the biggest problem we have is we are living in the 90s of India, and the children are 2080, and we are judging the children based upon the 90s, the standard of 1990s of India. Conflict is inevitable. So these are some of the points. Okay. So with that, we will conclude. I took only 4 practices. We are going to talk more about these things. But the reason why I presented this is the theme of chapter 1. Understand yourself. Not about try to do research on Arjuna. I told you, right? Your attention is like I gave you the example of the story, 2 stories in the first lesson. One is the story of Sherlock Holmes. Remember, Dr. Watson saw everything except his tent. So that's the second thing. Missing the obvious. So don't miss the obvious from chapter 1. Second thing is what? Context versus the message. I told you one example. If you start thinking and sitting and worrying about Isaac Newton discovered gravity in 16th or 17th century. The story tells that an apple fall down. Some people say that it is on his head. Some people say that it is nearby. So now you sit and worry, right? Why it is an apple? It should have been a jackfruit. Or was it a green apple or a blue apple or a red apple? Was it happened in Scotland or England? And if you miss the gravity G equal to 9.8 or the acceleration is the freely falling, it will accelerate it by 9.8 meter per second. If you miss that and start researching about the color of the apple, the dress Newton wore, was it 16th century or 17th century? Some people write thesis. Whether the Gita happened in 1500 BC or after Christ. Whether it happened in Kurukshetra or somewhere else. Was it myth or reality? How did Krishna stop all the army in that 3 hours? If you think about that, you will miss it. And second, trap is what? I think about Arjuna should have acted like that. Or Bhishma should have acted like that. Who cares what is Bhishma is doing, what is Arjuna is doing? I care about myself. And I need to relate this stage to myself. Otherwise, Gita will miss you. So with that, we will conclude chapter 1 with the Sankalpa Vakya. At the end of every chapter, there is a Sankalpa Vakya. It tells, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su, Upanishatsu, Brahma Vidyayam, Yoga Shastre, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama Prathamokyaya. It tells Iti Srimad Gita, means Iti is full stop in Sanskrit. In olden times, there was not written, right? So it was verbal. So at the end, they say Iti means it is implies full stop. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, so thus in Bhagavad Gita, what is the quality of, means the subject matter covered in the Bhagavad Gita? Two topics. Brahma Vidya, knowledge about the Brahman or the truth, absolute. The knowledge, the core knowledge is there. And second one is what? Yoga Shastra, the yoga. What is yoga? Once you have knowledge, how to implement that knowledge. That is yoga. So two things. One is knowledge and the other one yoga. Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. And this is recorded in the form of a conversation, a meaningful conversation. The conversation itself can be multiple times. Samvada, Vidanda, right? Like that. We'll talk about that later. In Vedanta, they call even the conversation into four types. Vedanta means if you said, I won't accept it. Sometimes what? It's a monologue. I preach, you listen. No questioning, right? Just because I said, you have to believe, or else you'll go to hell. No. This is samvada, means you can see Arjuna is asking all sort of questions. That chapter said, you confused me terribly. Vyami shrenena vakyena buddhim mohayati me. You successfully confused me. That much freedom is given. And at the end, what is the last verse? Krishna said, I said so much things. Now, think about yourself, and if you think that it is correct, so that is why it's Samvada. Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. What is the chapter name? Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It's the yoga of despondency, because a catastrophic situation happened, and from there we are understanding how the life works. Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, Prathamodhyayaha, the first chapter. So we are concluding the first chapter from the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita has the status of an Upanishads. Remember when we studied Upanishads, we said Upanishad means that comes under the end of the Veda. But the Vedanta can be a broader term. Any book that gives the teachings of the Upanishad can be broadly called as Vedanta. And Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, and Upanishads are considered as the three canonical textbooks of Vedanta. So Gita can be considered as an Upanishad. And in the Dhyana Sloka, we saw what? Sarvopanishado gavu. If all the Upanishads are cow, the essence of that cow, which is the milk, is Gita. Partho also Sudhir Bhakta Duktham Gita Amrama. So Bhagavad Gita, which is of the status of an Upanishad, which talks about the two themes, Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra, which is presented in the form of a meaningful dialogue between a student and teacher. We are concluding the first chapter, which is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Excellent. So we covered first chapter. So the chanting is already there in OneDrive. All the presentations are there. All the recordings are there. So any questions, please feel free to discuss. Critically discuss. It's okay. If you question, it doesn't mean anything, right? If I give answer, I'll tell. But next week is Thanksgiving, so we can take a week off, right? Most of us are traveling, and then when we come back on the first week of December, we'll start second chapter. The beauty of the second chapter is it is a summary of the entire Gita. And if you ask me, I have no time, but for only one chapter, I would recommend.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. So 10 minutes extra. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.